Hey fam, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. All right, folks, let's go to North Carolina, where Republicans, frankly, have been busted for voter fraud, election fraud in North Carolina's 9th Congressional District. Today, the election board there, the State Board of Election, ordered a new election in that particular race after the Republican candidate, Mark Harris, called today for a new election. Now, he had led by 905 votes, but we also know that we have folks who have been talking about how ballots were manipulated or simply thrown out, how you had this enormous number of absentee ballot requests, but then from Democrats, but then you saw this huge number turned in for Republicans. Talk about crazy. Folks, our guest there, Leslie McCrae Dowless, working for Harris. Dowless was allegedly illegally collecting absentee ballots and possibly filling them in for the GOP candidate. Now, there have been hearings that have been taking place. They started on Monday, and there was a whole lot of evidence and testimony pointing to fraud, damaging information. Most damaging was the candidate's own son, Harris's own son, who testified that he told his father not to hire Dowless. The younger Harris happens to be a U.S. attorney. He believed that Dowless had broken the law in previous elections and told his father that in phone calls and emails, don't hire him. But the elder Harris had repeatedly denied he had been warned about Dowless. Sounds like somebody's lying. With the son's testimony and the emails between them contradicting that assertion, Harris may have decided to cut his losses and call for a new election, which could include a new primary and general election. Joining us right now is Cynthia Wallace. She is the chair of the Democratic Party in North Carolina's 9th Congressional District. Cynthia, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Roland?
I'm doing great. You got to love all these Republicans talking about voter fraud, and it's Democrats, and we got to have voter ID. And here we have Republicans.
Yes, what we call it is election fraud.
In the 9th
Voter
district.
fraud is when the voters are doing something. Election fraud is when the voters are the victims. And that's exactly what we have here. They are the victims, our voters.
And the thing that, again, was amazing is the constant lying by Harris. And to have his own son bust him in a lie has to be just hilarious to you to see how this thing played out.
It was quite a stunning turn of events on yesterday. His son was even a surprise witness to Harris. Mark Harris, his lawyers didn't know his son was going to testify. And he was blunt. He was straightforward. He gave the facts as they were. He actually brought his own evidence with emails of conversations he had with his father from April of 2017, where he very clearly told his father that Dowless McCrae was a shady character. And his lawyer, his father and mother chose to use him anyway.
Well, and also I think what is interesting about this, because it's amazing how right-wing media just not covering this story at all. And what it also speaks to is when you began to uncover this might not just be the only election. You literally might have had multiple elections stolen from the people over the last number of years.
Yes, and one of the things that I think is the critical thing to take from this is our rural communities. Our rural communities have been complaining about things like this for years and for decades. And so when you look at things like that, and now that a congressional race was in the mix, that's why this got attention. It's not that it was new. It's just that you finally had a very high-profile race that was caught in the balance of this with 905 votes. So what I'm hoping is that now our rural communities who have been crying out, not only in North Carolina, not only in District 9, will finally be heard. Look at Georgia. Look at all of those small communities. What happened there?
Well, first of all, it has been, folks like you, Democracy North Carolina, NAACP, and others who were on this case who kept pressing this issue. And this is also what happens when you had Moral Mondays, when you had people who were educated, who were trained to understand what was going on. And I keep telling people, North Carolina is the Alabama of the 21st century. What Republicans have tried to do or have done in that state has been an absolute abomination. And this is where the slate needs to be wiped clean of these fraudulent individuals who all they have a thirst for power and want to deny opportunities to others. Cynthia, your final comment.
Yeah, so I will say that one of the things that we have started dismantling all of the things we've seen happen ever since 2010, when the Republicans took over the majority in North Carolina, they have been trying to take us back 100 years. But we broke the supermajority here in North Carolina in the 2018 election in both the House and the Senate. And so now we are looking to completely flip the House and the Senate back to Democratic hands so that we can go back to some normalcy in North Carolina. So North Carolina can be that beacon that it used to be when I moved here 13 years ago, because it was such a progressive place. And so we know that we will make that happen. We know that we now have a chance, as I've been saying for the last 2 years, to hashtag flip the 9th North Carolina one more time. So we're looking forward to winning this seat and winning more in 2020.
All right, Cynthia, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot. I want to quickly go to my panel. Eugene, it's amazing how Republicans are so quiet about the North Carolina 9th.
As a Republican, this has to be the wildest thing North Carolina's given us as Speedy Pablo. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, this is to have your son, who's a sitting U.S. attorney, tell you not to hire somebody. You still hire him, and then the guy comes in and commits election fraud. The thing is this, anybody who's ever worked in a campaign, at that level, there's very little that the candidate doesn't know top level, which meant that he probably knew that the guy, that his operative was actually committing election fraud, which pretty much implicates him as well. And the son kind of implicated him today during the testimony. So I wouldn't be shocked or surprised if, there's a new primary that, he doesn't run in it, and that he, a year from now or two, that he ends up with an indictment. I mean, as a candidate, everything, the buck stops with you and the treasurer.
Cleo, then Greg. Cleo first.
Cleo has nothing new to say about the fact that these Republicans be tripping. And they do what they do. I just always am blown away by the likes of Eugene Craig, who critiques the party that he's glued to. It's like an oxymoron. Sometimes it's like it's mostly a moron.
Look, we all pick
but I don't
games.
know, That's all I can say. It's like the Republicans are doing what they do.
Greg Carr.
Well, I'll say very quickly, there are two sitting governors that are a direct result of voter fraud in the last 6 months, one in Florida and one in Georgia, voter suppression, rather.
That's right.
There's a president of the United States that is in the White House as a direct result of fraudulent behavior and voter suppression in places like the county, Milwaukee County in Wisconsin. And there's a leader of the majority in the United States Senate, Mitch McConnell, who, as we speak, is getting ready to use the nuclear option again to ramrod through a few more federal judges. These people have no commitment to anything, as you just said, other than power. What is happening in North Carolina is far from an anomaly. It is, in fact, business as usual for white supremacy in the United States of America.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, folks, got to go to a break and come back. All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. The International Pastors and Leadership Conference is where thousands of entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, and leaders unite from April 25th through 27, 2019 in Tampa Bay, Florida. Over the span of 3 days, you will glean deep insights on how to catalyze the greatest impact in your enterprise at this highly anticipated leadership conference. And whether you're a CEO or an attorney, get ready to elevate your effort to impact people, processes, workflow, investments, marketing and advertising, communication, and more. The International Pastors and Leadership Conference will equip you to make a positive impact in today's cross-generational environments. Bishop T.D. Jakes, the founder and visionary of the International Pastors and Leadership Conference, will lead this year's leadership conference. Joining him will be a phenomenal team of industry thought leaders, speakers, and entrepreneurs who are called to change the world. You must be there. at the Tampa Convention Center, April 25th through 27th. Again, inspired by Bishop T.D. Jakes' New York Times best-selling book, Soar, Build Your Vision from the Ground Up. The International Pastors and Leadership Conference will expand upon leadership and entrepreneurship strategies, among other themes. Speakers include Bishop T.D. Jakes, Corey Anthony, Pastor Teray Roberts, Pastor Craig Groeschel, Robert Brown, Bishop Dr. Pat McKinstry, Cynthia Marshall, Bishop Walter Thomas, Brett Fisher, Dr. Anita Phillips, Pastor Miles McPherson, Bishop Noel Jones, Reverend Tony Lee, Dr. Antipas Harris, Marquise Boone, and others. How to register? Go online at pastorsandleaders.org, pastorsandleaders.org, or text PL Now. That's P, Pastors, Leaders, L, Now, N-O-W, to 28950. That's 28950. You can also call 1-800-BISHOP-2. That's 1-800-BISHOP-2. And again, we appreciate Bishop T.D. Jakes being a partner and helping to support Roland Martin Unfiltered. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.